All right, Shabbat Shalom, family. Elder O back with you once again. The topic and the title of today's lesson is Esau and Jacob Exposed. What ruddy really means in Genesis 25:25. The majority of you already know this matters. They told you that Esau was non-melanated, but the Bible never said that. And in today's lesson, we're going to prove this once and for all. And included in today's lesson, I have one or two powerful video clips that is going to further clarify or prove what I am saying in today's lesson. So let us start off today's lesson in the book of Hebrews, chapter 9. Starting off in the book of Hebrews, chapter 9, pick it up at verse 9, and we're going to read down to verse 15, please.
Hallelujah. Hebrews 9, verse 9. This is an illustration for the present time, indicating that the gifts and sacrifices being...
Romans chapter 9, verse 9 through 15, please.
For this was how the promise was stated. At the appointed time I will return, and Sarah will have a son. Not only that, but Rebekah's children were conceived at the same time by our father Isaac.
Read on.
Yet, before the twins were born or had done anything...
Now, it says before the twins were born. This is important as we go into today's lesson. Jacob and Esau were twins. Read that part again, please.
Yet, before the twins were born, or had done anything good or bad, in order that Yahuwah's purpose and election might stand. Not by works, but by him who calls, she was told, the older will serve the younger. Just as it is written, Jacob I loved, but Esau I hated. What then shall we say? Is Yahuwah unjust? Not at all. For he says to Moshe, I will have mercy on whom I have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I have compassion.
So before these children were even born, Yahuwah Elohim said, Jacob or Jacob I loved, and Esau have I hated. Let's go directly to the verse, and the chapter and verse that's dealing with Esau and Jacob, and that's found in the book of Bereshit or Genesis chapter 25. And let's cut straight to the chase, dealing with Esau and Jacob. Genesis or Bereshit chapter 25, verse 20 through 27. Take your time with it.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Abraham became the father of Isaac. And Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean from Padan Aram, and the sister of Laban the Aramean. Isaac allowed to Yahuwah on behalf of his wife, because she was childless. Yahuwah answered his prayer, his palau, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. The babies jostled each other within her, and she said, why is this happening to me? So she went to inquire of Yahuwah. Yahuwah said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 people from within you will be separated. One will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger.
And the older will serve the younger. So Jacob and Esau were twins born at the same time, but Esau came out of his mother's womb first. Read on.
When the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb.
Twins. Come on.
The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment. So they named him Esau.
So they named him Esau. Now what we want to look at, family, in the description in verse 25 of Bereshit or Genesis chapter 25, verse 25, pertaining to Esau and his description is the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. Now, using a interlinear Bible, let us look up this word red in the Hebrew to see what it actually is. So as you see on the screen here, book of Genesis or Bereshit, chapter 25, verse 25, and it says, and came out all over, and that word red in the Hebrew is Strong's Hebrew Concordance number 132 in the Hebrew. It says red is actually, as we say in English, ruddy. So when you touch on the word ruddy, it is Strong's H 132, admoni, and admoni means red, ruddy, red, ruddy. So Esau and Jacob being twins, Esau came out ruddy or red. Now, what's interesting about this word ruddy and the description that is given for Esau in Genesis chapter 25, verse 25, is that this is the same description that is given for King David in 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 42. So let us go to 1 Samuel 17, verse 42 to prove 1 Samuel chapter 17, and give me verse 42 alone, please, pertaining to King Daud, King David.
He looked David.
Okay, read on.
He looked David over and saw that he was a little more than a boy, glowing with health and handsome, and he despised him.
Now, in this version, it says, and when the Philistine or Philistine looked about and saw Daud or David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth. He was young and ruddy and of a fair countenance. So King David or Daud was a young man in his youth. He was ruddy, and when it says fair countenance, meaning he was handsome or beautiful. Now, looking at this word ruddy in 1 Samuel 17:42, given a description for King Daud, let us go to the interlinear Bible to prove what this word ruddy is. So 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 42, given the description of King David or Daud in the interlinear, and David, as you see on the screen, he disdained him, for he was a youth. And what we want to look at is the word ruddy. It is the same concordance number, H 132, admoni, red, ruddy, red, ruddy. This is the same description that is given for Esau. So if King Daud was a handsome black man, ruddy man, so was Esau, because the same description, H 132, given for Esau is the same description given. Then, according to Google, yes, both Esau, Genesis 25:25, and King David, 1 Samuel 16:12, 1 Samuel 17:42 are described in Hebrew as what?
Admoni.
Admoni, which means
ruddy or reddish. This word is derived from the root Hebrew word 119, Strong's H 119, which is Adam.
Which is who?
Adam.
So the same description that is given for David or Daud, the same description given for David or Daud, the same description given for Esau is the same description given for Adam. Adam was ruddy, King David was ruddy, Esau was ruddy. Let us go to the Zondervan's King James Study Bible to get a greater description on what this word ruddy is. Zondervan's King James Compact Study Bible Dictionary, page
510. Ruddy. A word used to refer to a red or fair complexion, in contrast to the dark skin of the Hebrews. 1 Samuel 16:12, 1 Samuel 17:42,
and Song of Solomon. Give me Song of Solomon, please. Chapter 1, verse 5. Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5. And let us get a description of King David's son, Shlomo or Solomon. Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5.
I am black, but calmly, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon.
So if King Daud or David's son was black, so was King Daud, so was Esau, so was Adam. And as you see here on the screen is a depiction of what Esau would have looked like. In our modern day so-called black or melanated term, if we as a man see a beautiful young fair-skinned, light-skinned woman, in our community, in our slang, in our terminology, we would say that is a bad red-bone woman there. Or if you saw as a woman a fair-skinned, light-skinned, so-called black man, you would say that is a handsome red-bone brother there. So the word red has to do with the fair complexion of the Hebrews. So Esau was a red-bone black man, and his brother Jacob or Jacob was a dark chocolate shakur brown. And as the description is given for King Daud, H or Strong's Concordance Hebrew number 132, the description given for David would been, he would have been a light-skinned black man, and his son Solomon would have been a darker shakur, chocolate brown, because of his mother Bathsheba. So yes, King David was a fairer-skinned black man, and his son Solomon was a darker shakur brown because of his mother's Bathsheba. Now, the people that are known on earth as having the oldest DNA on earth are known as the Sun Bushmen of Africa. They have the oldest and the purest DNA and lineage on earth, and they are a red-bone, fair-skinned people, as was Esau, as was Adam, as was King David. So here is another picture of the San or Sun Bushmen people of Africa. Pure African people having light skin, and they get lots of sun. The Sun Bushmen of Africa hold the oldest DNA markers on earth or in the world, going back nearly 200,000 years. And when you look at their round faces and their almond-shaped eyes, this is where the Chinese and the Asiatic people get their look from. The San or the Sun Bushman people of Africa. Have you ever heard the term Asiatic black man? That's just a term they coined and made up. They get their looks, the Asiatic people, they get their looks from the Sun Bushman people of Africa. I tell you what, let us go to the book of Jashir, chapter 18, and let Flavius Josephus, or the book of, not Jashir as of yet, let's go to the book of Josephus chapter 18, verse 1 through 6 is what we want to read. Let me pull this up and put it on the screen. Flavius Josephus chapter 18, and we're going to read verses 1 through 6, 1 through 7. Pick it up from the top, please. And this is going to give a description of Esau and Jacob.
Now,
Josephus chapter 18, read verses 1 through 6, please.
now Isaac's wife proved with child after the death of Abraham. And when her belly was greatly burdened, Isaac was very anxious and inquired of Yahuwah, who answered that Rebekah should bear twins, and that 2 nations should take the name of those sons, and that he who appeared the second should excel the elder. Accordingly, she in a little time, as Yahuwah had foretold, bare twins, the elder of whom, from his head to his feet, was very rough and hairy. But the younger took hold of his heel as they were in the birth. Now the father loved the elder, who was called Esau, a name agreeable to his roughness, for the Hebrews call such a hairy roughness Esau or Seir. But Jacob, the younger, was best beloved by his mother. When there was a famine in the land, Isaac resolved to go into Egypt. The land were being good, but he went to Gerar as Yahuwah commanded him. Here Abimelech the king received him, because Abraham had formerly lived with him and had been his friend. And as in the beginning, he treated him exceeding kindly. So he was hindered from continuing in the same disposition to the end by his envy at him. For when he saw what Yahuwah was with Isaac and took such great care of him, he drove him away from him. But Isaac, when he saw how envy had changed the temper of Abimelech, retired to a place called the valley. Abimelech retired to a place called the valley, not far from Gerar. As he was digging a well, the shepherds fell upon him and began to fight, in order to hinder the work, and because he did not desire to contend, the shepherds seemed to get to him. So he still retired and dug another, and when certain other shepherds of Abimelech began to offer him violence, he left that also, still retired, thus purchasing security to himself, a rational and prudent conduct. At length, they gave him to dig a well without disturbance. He named this well Rehoboth, which denotes a large space. But of the former wells, one was called Escon, which denotes strife. The other Centena, name signifies enmity. It was now that Isaac's affairs increased and in a flourishing condition, and this his great riches. But Abimelech, thinking in opposition to him, while there, living made them suspicious of each other, and retiring, showing a secret enmity. Also he, afraid that his former friendship with Isaac would not secure him, if Isaac should endeavor the injuries he had formerly offered him. He therefore renewed his friendship with him, Philip, one of the generals. And when he had obtained everything he desired, by reason of Isaac's good nature, who preferred the earlier friendship Abimelech had shown to himself and his father, to his latter wrath against him, he returned home. Now when Esau, one of the sons of Isaac, whom the father principally loved.
Now family, it's getting ready to get good or tov. Pay close attention to what we're reading. Read on.
Now when Esau, one of the sons of Isaac, whom the father principally loved, was now come to the age of 40 years, he married Adah, the daughter of Helon, and Ahalobama, the daughter of Esbion, which Helon and Esbion were great masters among the Canaanites.
Were great masters among the Canaanites. Now, this Canaanites is on part 2 of this lesson is going to further explain why Yahuwah Elohim disdained Esau in the book of Romans chapter 9. Because it says before they were born, Yahuwah Elohim already knew what Esau was going to do. So when it says they were great masters or lords among the Canaanites, that's going to be very important as we proceed forward, not only in today's lesson, but part 2 of this lesson as well. Read on.
Thereby taking upon himself the authority and pretending to have dominion over his own marriages, without so much as asking the advice of his father. For had Isaac been the arbitrator, he had not given him leave to marry thus, for he was not pleased with contracting any alliance with the people of that country. But not caring to be uneasy to his son by commanding him to put away these wives, he resolved to be silent. But when he was old and could not see at all, he called Esau to him and told him that besides his blindness and the disorder of his eyes, his very old age hindered him from the worship of Yahuwah. He bid him therefore to go out a-hunting, and when he had caught as much venison as he could, to prepare him a supper.
Yeah, venison, that's deer or what have you. Go ahead.
That after this he might make supplication to Yahuwah, to be to him a supporter and an assister during the whole time of his life, saying that it was uncertain when he should die, and that he was desirous by plows for him to procure beforehand Yahuwah to be merciful to him. Accordingly, Esau went out a-hunting, but Rebekah, thinking it proper to have the supplication made for obtaining the favor of Yahuwah to Jacob, and that what without the consent of Isaac, bid him kill kids of the goats and prepare a supper.
Yeah, because that is what a goat is known as. Go ahead.
So Jacob obeyed his mother according to all her instructions. Now when the supper was got ready, he took a goat skin and put it about his arm, that by reason of his hairy roughness, he might by his father be believed to be Esau.
Stop. What we're about to read, family, is key to the entirety of this entire lesson, and this is why we came here. So it says, by what now? He might what?
His father might be believed to be Esau.
For
they being twins, and in all things else alike.
For they being twins, and in all things else alike. What?
Differed only in this thing.
Only different in this thing. So Esau was a melanated, red-boned black man, and his brother Jacob was a Shakur black man. They both looked just alike. Only Esau was fairer skinned, red bone, light skinned, and he was hairy. Other than that, Esau and Jacob were twins 100%. It's just that Jacob was a little darker than Esau.
Esau, for they being twins, and in all things else alike, differed only in this thing.
So they being twins in all things alike only differed in this one thing. Esau was a red-boned, ruddy black man, and his twin brother Jacob or Jacob was a chocolate Shakur brown. Now, when you're looking up the word white in the Hebrew, it is found in the book of Leviticus, chapter 13, verse 3. Read that, please. Leviticus chapter 13, verse 3.
Hallelujah. And the priest shall look on the plague in the skin of the flesh, and when the hair in the plague is turned white.
If turned what?
White.
Go ahead.
And the plague in sight be deeper than the skin of his flesh. It is a plague of leprosy.
It is a plague of leprosy. And when you look that word leprosy up in the Hebrew family, it is a word Laban. And the Hebrew word for white is Laban. So using the interlinear Bible, and the priest and shall examine on the skin the sore, and if the hair of the body, see where it says white on the screen, family, when you touch on that word white, it is Laban, white. So if Esau would have been a white man, the Hebrew word would have been Strong's Concordance H 3836, Laban. Hebrew Esau was a red-boned black man. He was not a whitey man. He was not a white man. Respectfully, that is a false doctrine. Esau and Jacob were both melanated men. So many of you may say, well, elder, if Esau isn't the YT man, if he's not the non-melanated man, then who is Esau? I'm glad you asked. Let's prove once and for all who Esau is, as we've already proven who he is not. Who is Esau? So family, look at this on the screen. And we're getting ready to prove this with some historical and video evidence. This also shows why these Edomites, Mongoloids, are known respectfully with love. We love all people. Flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of Shamaim or heaven. So this is not a boast in the flesh, family. This is just revealing truth and who's who and who is not. This also shows why these Edomites, Mongoloids, are known as the Japanese, the Koreans, the Eskimos, the Indonesians, the American Indians, and the Chinese people today. Their curse is carried through their seed, and they help the Canaanites to manufacture all tools of devilishment. You see it there on the screen. False this, false that, you name it, they make it. And when you look on the tag of anything, you will always see made in Hong Kong, made in Taiwan, made in China, made in Japan, or made in Korea. It is no coincidence that the symbol of these countries is the symbol of the dragon, ancient and modern. And as we know, the dragon is the symbol of the beast. This proves even more that they are helping the devil in his devilishment. You say, well, wait a minute, elder. How can Esau be the Mongoloids? Very simply, Esau was a red-boned, melanated black man, but when he began to mix with the Nephilim and the heathens, he diluted his gene pool. So he stopped from being a red-boned black man to still retain in a form of melanin is known as the so-called yellow skin that the Asiatic people now have. That yellow skin is a form of melanin. It's a diluted form of melanin. So yes, when you look at the Asiatic people, you are looking at Esau. Many of you will say, well, elder, I don't know about that. Hold on, I have more proof. Hold on.
Mo was a man that looked like me.
Listen.
Who came to China and brought Buddhism. He's the father of Buddhism. He brought Buddhism to China, and he brought martial arts.
So a melanated black man named Damu, an Israelite, is the one that brought martial arts to China.
Little history lesson for you fellas. The first complete martial arts was discovered in Africa 2500 BC. How about that? In 527 AD, Bodhidharma, aka Damo, aka the Black Monk, introduced the 18 hands of the Lohan to the Shaolin Temple, thus introducing martial arts to China. Now, I know you've seen the depictions of Damo all over China. Let me ask you something. Does it look like you? Or does it look like me? Hey now. Hey now. Get him.
Woo! There's more proving who Esau is. The Asiatic people are Esau, not the non-melanated YT man. There's more. Fair use. Pay attention, family. Esau still retains melanin. It's in the form of yellow. Listen. Negroid, Caucasoid, Mongoloid, so-called Asian. Then as you see on the far right, mixed. Look at the scriptures, family, as we've already covered. Listen.
"33 dynasties since the beginning of Egypt." And this, by the way, is a picture from Ramses III's tomb, right around 1200 BC. And what this is all about is that Ivan van Sertima states that the Egyptians always pictured themselves as A and C, not as B and D. We have the Semitic D and the Indo-Europeans and Asiatics B. We have the Semitic D and the Indo-Europeans and Asiatics B.
Do you see
and the
this,
Indo-Europeans and Asiatics B. And the Indo-Europeans and Asiatics B. And I just wanted to throw that in, just to understand what's going on.
The same Asiatic groups today are mixed. American, Indians, Mexicans, Vietnamese, you name it. Listen.
As Native Americans, the people that we can pull DNA from, their genetic markers are more closely related to people from Siberia.
Yes. That has nothing to do with salvation.
The evidence
All people
acceptable
can be
to
saved.
most archaeologists and physical anthropologists, both from dental traits and from mitochondrial DNA, is that the origin of people in North, Central, and South America before the coming of the Europeans in 1492 was North Asia.
North Asia. But they got them on the chart as the 12 tribes. And it's Esau.
And one of the
Listen. Cain and Esau respectfully have been hiding in plain sight, pretending to be a people that they never were. Listen.
the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. The churches and the pastors, which are set up by the government, all teach in unison a doctrine that all black people come from the seed of Ham.
And it's false.
The Negroes themselves are a dark race of people, so how can you say that Ham is the father of all these dark races and exclude the Negroes? So what are the scholars saying? What you're going to find out is that they're saying that you are the biblical Israelites. You're the same exact people that served slavery in the land of Egypt.
Chapter 36. Now these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom. Esau took his wives of the daughters of Canaan, Adah, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Aholibamah, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon the Hivite, and Bashemath, Ishmael's daughter, sister of Nebajoth.
Listen.
The Nubians clearly distinguish themselves from Asiatics. But when you go to Kemet and you go to the wall, these are the Asiatics.
Cain and Esau have been hiding in plain sight, pretending to be a people that they never were. In the last
You
days,
tell me that ain't the same man? That's the
Esau,
same man. That's the same man.
Caucasian, Esau,
The Hyksos, a Middle Eastern tribe who had settled among the
Cain.
Egyptians 100 years before, rose against their
hiding in
host.
plain sight.
Exploiting the death of the pharaoh, they seized power.
These were the invaders, just as you see them carved in stone right here. These are the people who came out of the Sinai. Some say from Mycenae, some say they were Hurrians. These were the Tamahu people who invaded from Libya from the west. They attacked Egypt after the 6th dynastic period.
And these are some books further validating what I'm saying.
who are non-Israelites, in fact, are Edomites and Canaanites, who have been masquerading, who have been pretending to be Israel for the last 2 millennia.
Revelations 2:9, Revelations 3:9. Those that say they are Jews and are not.
Testament that state that the Edomites would one day covet the name of Israel and covet their land and take it over, namely the Ashkenazi Jews and the Sephardic Jews.
Who is God of the land of Magog? Josephus, one of the most reliable Jewish historians, he said that Gog were the Scythians, right, a horse-riding group of barbarians from the north.
And remember what we heard a few moments ago with Michael Jai White saying that a man historically by the name of Damo is the one that brought martial arts, karate, to Asia. It is a melanated fighting style. It is a Israelite fighting style, you see, that they have adopted. And let's deal with some of the physical abilities temporarily from a biblical perspective, dealing with the Israelites. Let us go to the book of Jashir, chapter 39, and give me verse 28 through 30. Book of Jashir, chapter 39, verse 28 through 30. Let me get this on the screen so you can read along with me. Book of Jashir, chapter 39, and let's read verse 28 through 30, showing some of the physical abilities of the Israelites.
And Judah and his brothers heard the words of the inhabitants of Gash, and their anger was greatly roused. And Judah was jealous of his Yahuwah in this matter, and he called out...
Or jealous of his power or mighty one or Elohim in this matter, and called out...
and said, O Yahuwah, help, send help to us and our brothers. And he ran at a distance with all his might, with his drawn sword in his hand, and he sprang from the earth, and by dint of his strength mounted the wall, and his sword fell from his hand.
That's like what you see in some of these Marvel comic movies and so forth. Where do you think they get these ideas from? All of this Incredible Hulk and Flash and Green Lantern and all this and that ain't nothing but King David and the Israelites. That's where Marvel get this from. You see, the physical ability of the ancient Israelites before their downfall. So when Michael Jai White mentioned Damo bringing martial arts to Asia, that's our fighting style. That's the fighting style of the ancient Israelites. Read on.
And Judah shouted upon the wall, and all the men that were upon the wall were terrified. And some of them fell from the wall into the city and died.
Wait, you know how powerful your voice is? That's why in Bereshit 49 or Genesis 49, it says Judah or Yehuda is a lion's whelp. Who shall rise him up? Because when Judah stopped sinning, stand up and take his rightful place and come in alignment with Yahuwah Elohim, ain't no weapon that is formed against us can prosper once the Israelites take their rightful place. So at the shout, when Judah shouted, the men was in such fear that were guarding the wall, they fell off the wall and died. You know, a lion's roar in nature in Africa, when he roars, his voice carries for several miles. His voice or his roar actually goes further than the sound of a train or a locomotive horn. So imagine Judah coming to that wall and, hey, and they falling down. Read on.
And those who were yet upon the wall, when they saw Judah's strength, they were greatly afraid and fled for their lives into the city for safety.
So all this melanated, powerful brother did with the righteousness of Yahuwah Elohim is go to the wall and yell, and they fell down dead and the other ones ran. Still in the book of Jashir, let us go to chapter 56, family. Book of Jashir, chapter 56, and let's read verses 1 through 3. Then we're going to skip down and get 55 through 60.
And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. And the days of Jacob in the years of his life were 147 years. At that time, Jacob was attacked with that illness of which he died, and he sent and called for his son Joseph from Egypt, and Joseph his son came from Egypt, and Joseph came unto his father. And Jacob said unto Joseph and unto his sons, Behold, I die, and the power of your ancestors will visit you, and bring you back to the land which Yahuwah swore to give unto you, and unto your children after you. Now therefore, when I am dead, bury me in the cave which is in the Machpelah in Hebron, in the land of Canaan, near my ancestors.
Now this same chapter, family, let us go down and pick it up at verse 55 through 60. Verse 55 through 60, and then we have one more passage of scripture before we close out today.
And Joseph said unto Esau, Surely my father inserted these things with thee in the record of purchase, and testified the record with witnesses, and behold, it is with us in Egypt. And Esau answered, saying unto him, Bring the record, all that thou wilt find in the record, so will we do. And Joseph called unto Naphtali his brother, and he said, Hasten quickly, stay not, and run. I allow thee to Egypt, and bring all the records of the purchase, the sealed record, and the open record, and also all the first records, in which all the transactions of the birthright are written. Fetch thou. And thou shalt bring them unto us hither, that we may know from them all the words of Esau and his sons, which they spoke this day. And Naphtali hearkened.
And who?
Naphtali.
Here's your flash. This is where Marvel Comics and Hollywood get the whole concept of Flash from. Verse 59 again.
And Naphtali hearkened to the voice of Joseph, and he hastened and ran to go down to Egypt. And Naphtali was lighter on foot than any of the stags that were upon the wilderness, for he would go upon ears of corn without crushing them.
You know how fast you got to be to run on top of corn stalks, and you don't even crush a leaf of corn. If that ain't Flash, I don't know what is. This is where Marvel get this from. Read on.
And when Esau saw that Naphtali had gone to fetch the records, he and his sons increased their resistance against the cave, and Esau and all his people rose up against Joseph and his brethren to battle.
So family, search as you may, this is only part one of Esau and Jacob exposed. Esau was never described as Laban or white. That is a false doctrine. I don't want to call out any particular groups or camps. I'm not about that anymore. I just present the truth, and the truth will stand for itself. In closing, let us go to the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 6, and give me verse 1 through 9. 2nd Esdras, chapter 6, verse 1 through 9.
He said to me, in the beginning of the earthly world, before the world's exits were made, before the gathered winds blew, before the voices of the thunder sounded, before the flashes of lightning shone, before paradise's foundations were made firm, before beautiful flowers were seen, before the powers of movements were established, before the innumerable heaven Shamaim armies of Malachims were assembled, before the heights of the air were lifted up, before the measures of the firmament were named, before Zion's footstool was established, before the present years were reckoned, before the imaginations of those who now sin were alienated, before those who stored up faith as a treasure were sealed. Then I planned these things, as they were done by me and not by another, so also the end will come by me and not through another. I answered, what separates the times? When is the end of the first and the beginning of that which follows? He said to me, from Abraham to Abraham, because Jacob and Esau were born from him, but Jacob's hand held Esau's heel from the outset. Esau represents the end of this age, and Jacob represents the beginning of the following.
Esau represents the end of this age, and Jacob represents the beginning. There's only a handful of nations on planet Earth that actually have access to the stars, which is mentioned in the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, which we will cover in part 2 of this lesson. Esau was never described as Laban. Esau is the Asiatic people known as Chinese, Vietnamese, so forth and so on. They still attain a form of melanin. This is part 1, family. This concludes part 1, and as it states in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 50, flesh and blood will not inherit the kingdom of Elohim. And it states in the book of Yeshayahu or Isaiah chapter 56, verse 1 through 7, that heaven will be open for all nations. This is not a salvation topic, but a truth topic. But the children of Israel must be identified in the modern day times because they are the true shepherds and teachers and the light of the world. Elder O signing off. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, much ahab, much love, family. Shalom.